Collective. Again, this is Emily. I'm one of the pastors at Collective Worship. And we are in my favorite, I think second favorite season of the year, which is the Easter season. I love the Easter season because first, our family has this whole annual event where we meet as a whole family. That's about like 4 generations meeting in one place and we just eat. Honestly, that's all we do. And just catch up on how the year has been for each one of us, how each family is doing. And for me, that is something that I look forward to because I get to see all my family, all my extended family in one place on a day. But other than that, when I was thinking about the Easter story and the Easter personalities, there's one personality. It's not really like my focus of today, but I find it so interesting. And that's the guy who got his ear slashed and then it got healed. I don't know. I'm imagining it got slashed and then got put back, which was interesting. And I keep wondering, so did he continue to arrest Christ after that? Like, for me, those details, I really don't know what happened there. But that is such an interesting character. And just to think about how his faith was transformed in that one experience. I mean, you're going to arrest someone because, quote unquote, he's pretending to be the Son of God. And then he heals you. So at what point do you say, okay, he probably is the Son of God. But then again, you continue to arrest him. But anyway, not the focus of this message. One of the things that I find sad, it's nice because it's a good thing that happened for us, but it's sad for Christ that his sole purpose of coming to earth was to die and to die for us. That in itself is a very sad purpose to come. And we find that in the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 8, which says, "But God showed his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us when we were still sinners." Like the sole reason why Christ was sent to earth was to save mankind. And by doing that, it meant that he had to die. And he came knowing that. He willingly came knowing that that was going to happen. But that did not stop him from struggling with that purpose, or rather the hard part of his purpose. I don't think he struggled with turning water into wine, but when it came to, am I going to die, that was a hard part for Christ. And we see that in the book of Luke, chapter 22, verse 44, Christ prays in anguish, so much anguish that he actually sweats blood. That is how much anguish Christ was in the thought, just for the thought that he's going to die. And he already knew, like he was fully God and fully man. So he already knew that he was going to resurrect, and yet he struggled with that purpose, or rather that part of his purpose. I find that a little bit encouraging because it shows me that I'm not at fault when I struggle with the hard parts of my purpose, with the hard parts of the things that God calls me to do. I like the easy parts where God calls me to business and I prosper. But there are days that God calls me to do stuff and I'm just like, wow, this makes me look foolish before people. And I don't want to do this. There are days when, they're just hard days, even in business. And I'm just like, I am struggling with this part of my purpose. And I don't know what parts of your purpose scares you. Let's even remove the word purpose, because just that word in itself is scary. What parts of your future scares you? You're probably in campus and you're wondering, so after this, what happens? Do I get a job or do I tarmac for years? You're probably in a relationship and you're wondering, where is it going? Or probably someone has proposed and you're like, will this marriage work? Like in these days when everything, like marriages seem to not be working. It is okay to be afraid. It is okay to be scared by parts of the hard parts of our purposes, or hard parts of our futures, or hard parts of our lives that scare us, because in itself they are scary. If Christ himself, who knew what would happen after 3 days, that he would be resurrected, how about us who really don't have the details of what our future looks like? It is okay to be scared. But also just pattern from that encouragement, I like the fact that Christ just didn't get scared and be crying and sweating blood. He was sweating blood because he was praying. He actually went to his Father. The same Father who sent him on this earth to die for mankind, he went to the Father and he went to him to pour out his heart and say, This is hard, even for me. This is a really hard task. This is a hard part of my purpose. Is it possible for you to even remove? As in, by the time Christ is having that conversation with God, he's saying, can you remove this cup away from me so I don't have to die? So it's okay, and it's encouraging, and it's a good model, and it's a good principle to know that we can always go back to God. When it gets to the hard season, when it gets to the hard phases of our lives, you can always go back to God and pour out our hearts and say, Enyewe, this part is hard. It might not necessarily mean that God is going to remove that part or that season from your life, but what comes next is that Christ gets a lot of grace and a lot of strength to be able to do the things that to be able to go and die on the cross. So much so that he even heals somebody on his way to the cross. He heals somebody on his way to the cross. That is, just looking from how much he's come from an anguished state where he's sweating blood to a place where he's so peaceful, he's healing someone who's come to arrest him, and continues to go to the cross and do what it is that he was intended to do. So, yes, it is okay to be scared. But it's parts of your life that scare you, maybe your future, maybe the phases of your life that scare you. And what we have learned from this story is that after we get scared, we go to God and we pour out our hearts. And in exchange, he takes that anguish, he takes that fear, he takes that being scared, and he gives us the grace and the power and the strength that we need to carry on to the easier parts, because Christ dies and gets resurrected, and that phase just passes. So he might not necessarily remove the phase, but he gives you the strength and the grace to go through the phase and the hard parts of our purposes. So that's my challenge. Whenever it is that you face a hard, challenging phase of your life, go to God, pour out your heart to him, and in exchange receive the grace and the strength to do what it is that he has called you to do. Thank you very much. See you next time.